Welcome to Fort Worth 148's podcast, where we meet to discuss Masonic topics and strive to build value in the Brotherhood. The opinions and statements of the participants do not represent any positions or stance of any Grand Lodge or Lodge and are solely the viewpoints of the participants.
Welcome back to the Fort Worth Masonic Podcast. My name is Evie Kirkendall. I'm a past master of Fort Worth 148 and the chaplain.
I am Brandy Patton, the current Worcester Master of Fort Worth 148.
And this is Cody Cox, the current Senior Warden of Fort Worth Lodge number 148.
Well, welcome back, gentlemen. Second episode of us recording and doing a live broadcast of this, or recording. It's not going to go out live, but I mean, it's live for us.
I mean, it's live for us. We're sitting right here doing it.
You missed the pre-talk where you move your head too much.
Oh yeah, well, we're on screen, and I don't want to. I know it helps with the mic, but
Yeah.
But
We'll
it's
get
also
hot
weird
takes.
not to look at you guys whenever like there's a camera involved.
Maybe our sponsor will help us get a lapel mic for you.
Right? Yeah.
We have lapel mics at the lodge.
Well,
Okay, we'll bring those.
we'll figure it out.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
And we're also going to get like a semicircle table because I guess the
because this
straight
is a little
tables
weird
kinda-
to just look at.
We do have a
straightforward people.
semicircle rug, though. We've upgraded.
We do. We have rugs, and it's
And we're all wearing shoes this time, so it's
so
funny.
you don't get to see our feet. That's funny. Well, this week, our brethren, we are going to be discussing and going through the resolutions of the upcoming grand communication. We have thoughts. We have feelings. We have thoughts and feelings.
We're going to try to not make it a 2-hour episode.
Yeah, we're going to try to keep this relatively short
This is
and concise.
called rapid fire. Pew,
Yeah, a
pew,
lot of them are going to be.
rapid fire.
I think a lot of them are going to be quick and easy.
So how many resolutions are there?
So we have a total of 24 resolutions plus one holdover, so 25 total.
So it's 30 minutes.
So yeah, like one per minute.
30,
so rapid
30
fire.
minutes. Yes.
So with that in mind, if you have thoughts on it, of course, feel free to comment below on whatever podcast app or on YouTube if you're listening to this. Let us know what you think. If you think we're completely off base, let us know.
Hey, Cody,
if you agree with us, let us know.
Yes.
what brand laptop is that?
This is a Lenovo. It's
What software does it run?
It's a.
Not Mac?
This is not Mac. No.
Okay, just clarifying.
No.
Thank you. Sean's not here, so.
Ouch. Okay.
Oh,
God.
they're awful.
Yikes.
So, all right. Well, gentlemen, why don't we dive in? Let's talk about first holdover resolution number 1. This is resolution 24 from the last Masonic year. What do we think?
This is just to make sure everybody's aware. This is holdover that talks about in case there's ever a removal of a Grand Master, how do we go about getting someone put back into their place? It says in other words, if the Grand Master is suspended by unanimous vote of the trustees, the Deputy Grand Master shall call a special communication of the Grand Lodge to be held within 60 days of that vote. And then at that special session, the suspension shall be taken up by resolution, et cetera, et cetera. If I remember correctly, we had voted in favor of this one. So it has to be voted on again. So I see no reason not to vote in favor of this one.
The only concern I have is there's no clause in there for double jeopardy. Not saying the trustees could do it, but they do change. They might get spiteful. They might just, hey, well, this one's over. Let's keep doing it over and over again.
But didn't we already vote in last year a resolution to kind of take care of double jeopardy?
That was for Masonic charges. This only deals with the trustees basically having a vote of no confidence in the Grand Master, which means that doesn't necessarily follow that they have to bring charges against the Grand Master. So I can see the concern there that this could be, if you had a particularly spiteful group of trustees who didn't like a Grand Master and they just to keep the system mucked up, they kept having a vote of no confidence and then
calling special
sessions. I think that eventually the Grand West would probably vote the trustees out or ball them up. If they kept doing
just
this,
don't show up and you can't have a quorum.
Right. And there's a lot of ways to fix that double jeopardy problem. I'm not sure that that's a big enough concern for me because it's not about,
if you got 5 guys saying one guy's bad.
I kind of look at this also as this is we've talked about this, like this is a version 1.0. Is this good enough right now that we can put this into place as a failsafe, and then can we come back to it and fix it?
I think we also need to point out who submitted it. It's the Deputy Grand Master, so it will directly affect him.
Yeah.
So
I think the intention is good. I
Potentially
also think
directly.
that in the absence, because I think we can all agree that the ways by which we hold our Grand Master accountable in the state of Texas is a little vague. And it's very difficult if we in the Grand West want to remove a Grand Master or do something, have our own little vote of no confidence as members of the Grand West. We have the actions to do so are very vague and difficult in the Masonic law book.
Maybe
And
it's one of those.
This is at least a step in the right direction, in my opinion. I don't think it's a panacea. I still think that we need to have clearer, like to remove. It needs to be very clear to remove a Grand Master. These are the steps, very clear and concise. We don't have that. We don't have that mechanism. We have a kind of a conclave vote, if you will, where we can all kind of like a certain number of
the best thing about this resolution, it's going to set the cadence for the rest of the session. So
yeah,
we can tell where it's going to go.
This is going to tell us a lot about the vibe in the room and the temperature in the room. If the Grand West is angry, I think that we're going to know it based on this particular resolution.
I think that they should be playing like the theme song from, Walker, Texas Ranger, as we're entering in. The eyes of Texas are upon you,
Or the Imperial March, depending on the temperature in the room.
Hey, we'll touch
see.
on that later because there's a resolution for the Internet Committee.
That's right. One before lunch and one after lunch.
Right. So I for this, I personally, I think it's a good idea. I don't have any major heartburn with it.
If it was 2 years ago, we would have killed for that resolution.
Yeah, this resolution is kind of overdue.
3 years ago.
But we need more mechanisms by which to hold Grandmasters accountable, especially with the amount of drama that has been going on in the Grand Lodge of Texas over the last few years. We need a mechanism that holds the drama to account. Not to put too fine a point on it.
Hashtag drama llamas.
Yeah.
Well, that was only 6 minutes. So
only
we're
6
right-
minutes.
we're right on track.
We're not gonna be
rocking
done by,
and rolling
we're gonna be
here.
done by midnight here.
Wow.
The next one should be interesting.
So let's go over it. Cody, why don't you give us a quick summary of resolution number 1?
All right, so this is going to be introducing a Article 401 that says background checks on petitioners and suspended Masons. For all petitioners for the degrees in Freemasonry and for all petitions for reinstatement for any Masons who have been suspended for any reason for 3 years or more, a check of the petitioner's background shall be ordered. This background check shall be provided via the Grandview Membership Management Portal by a third-party vendor, with expense to be borne by the petitioner and not by the lodge requesting the background check.
Okay, I'm just going to say it. I hate this resolution so much. I hate it because the idea of a background check, this is a legal thing. Like when you do a background check, you have to disclose that you are doing this background check to the person who's having the background check done. They have to be given an opportunity to respond to the things in the background check if something, let's say, negative shows up. It also, in most background checks, involves credit checks, which is not always a passive credit check.
And icky.
And it's gross. And it tells us things about people that, I'm going to be honest, I don't think is within the purview of lodges to know.
I want to see who the third-party vendor is and what their standards are before.
And I want to know how they became our third-party vendor.
Well, and see,
that is a huge problem for me because it
yeah.
gets in the business of the Grand Lodge picking winners and losers and making lodges have to go through a specific vendor, which is then going to increase business to that vendor.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is because this specifically says that the background check shall be provided via Grandview.
So there's 6 secretaries out there going, what is Grandview?
Oh, God.
Well, then they shouldn't be secretaries.
But they do exist, and my first note's pen and paper lodges, because that's going to be a trouble for them. My concern is, well, not my concern. The way I'd sell this is, we do our candidate survey. Through our candidate survey, you check a box where you're submitting to our background check, and then you get a number, put you in Grandview, you log into this account, and you pay, and we get results back that way. Figure out that mechanism. I'm happy with it, but us having to shove it through Grandview, explain to the candidate what that is. I don't want control on that.
I don't like the idea of it being a third-party vendor chosen by the powers of Grand Lodge.
Well, this is going to be a 4-hour conversation at communication because of that.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
like this at all. This is not a very transparent.
Well, So like the insurance thing, we all get to look at it and talk about it before it even gets a vote. I like the idea. We need to do background checks. I don't want it to be forced, and I want to see the mechanism.
In the preview to this, Cody, we were talking earlier, and you said that essentially what you were saying is if your lodge locally is having a problem with guarding the West Gate, don't make this a resolution for everybody across Texas. And that's what this feels like.
It's
everybody
one
across
of
Texas,
the few that a few that I feel in this one is kind of like we're trying to solve a lodge problem by
legislating it.
In the Grand Lodge law.
I think there's more lodges that are clamoring for this than y'all realize. And,
well, I'm sure they are.
Look at the proposer. He was Grand Secretary whenever this.
And I understand that, and I have a great deal of respect for the proposer.
Just in duty, by the way.
The problem that I have with this though is that it consolidates power into the Grand Lodge, and it usurps it from the local lodges. Local lodges, this isn't within their purview. This should not be within Grand Lodge's jurisdiction. I understand that we need a stronger guarding of the West Gate. I'm not opposed to that. So there are ways to do that without mandating an extra expense. And then we also think about, so if the petitioner is the person who has to buy off on this and pay for it, think about any person who's coming to be a part of an organization and being told when you're talking to the people, oh, by the way, you have to pay us X number of dollars, which we don't even know yet because we don't know who this vendor is. We don't know the details about that. But imagine going to an organization and being told, a volunteer organization at that you have to submit to a background check at your own expense before you can become a member. That sounds really, really red flag.
You can just tack it on the degree fee. They never really realize that.
Well, and if that's the case, then this legislation
is
unnecessary.
We do refund degree fee that if someone gets rejected. So that's not true. I take that statement back.
I will say though, for me, the thing that's the tough pill to swallow is as a lay person, I do not know the legalities behind knowing this information about somebody. So I'm uncomfortable, automatically just going, this is a great idea. Let's go for it.
Have either of y'all ever done side gig stuff like Uber, Lyft, Amazon Flex, that kind of stuff?
No, I'm not.
They all do a background check before they hire you.
But again,
that's for employment.
This is for an employment.
Yeah, I know, but
you're dealing with the public, where you might come into contact with people who are disabled, who are, having all sorts of mental illness.
It's also not a very deep dive on your background. Make sure you're not a felon, which is the thing we care about most.
Right, and again, I don't have a problem with that. It's a lodge problem, though.
It is.
This is if a lodge wants to invest in a background check, let the lodge invest in a background check.
We have the ability.
There's nothing that's stopping them. Now.
We can dig pretty deep on guys within the legal limits. Some lodges don't have the time. Or the ability,
if they don't have the time or the ability, then that's a lodge problem.
That's on them.
True.
That means that they're not doing their job as a lodge.
What if there's a group of rabid felons out there that are trying to petition lodges and they find one that doesn't do it?
Then that is a problem. That's where a Grand Master should come in and start janking those charters, because that means that a lodge isn't doing their job.
If a lodge is
there's no way to shoehorn this particular resolution into a world where lodges should have autonomy.
If a lodge is running into lots of legal problems and this becomes sort of like a pattern or something, that's where our elected officers should go hey, we see XYZ Lodge keeps having this problem. Hey, you know that piece of paper that's on the wall? Yeah, we need that back.
Yeah, that's the solution. Micromanaging people into demise is not a good idea. And I think that's what this is. This is micromanaging the demise of a lodge, making it harder for members to petition, because red flags are going to go up left and right about people having to give money before they even know if they're going to be a member. And I realize that we've spent a lot of time talking about this, but I just don't like this. This has ick all over it. It's super icky to me.
I want to hear the rest of it before we make a decision.
I am open-minded about it.
I think all of us that are going to Grand Lodge are open-minded enough to sit there and listen to this. We're coming.
Yeah, I can absolutely be convinced.
These resolutions are sent to us for us to start thinking about beforehand.
Right now, just reading this, I'm not super in favor.
We're 7 minutes on this one too, so we're on track.
but this is a contentious one. There's several that we know of that are not going to be contentious. So, but this one,
like this one right here, number 2.
Yeah, number 2 is. I mean, go ahead, Cody. Let's talk about it.
Long story short, this one basically amends an Article 163. It's taking a 50-cent. Let me make sure that my math is right there. It's like a 50-cent sum that was going to a Grand Lodge like assistance fund. And basically, Rick Townsend, our Grand Treasurer, says, like, look, we've got like $2 million there. It can sit there. It's going to make enough money. It doesn't need to be funded anymore. So he wants to revert this 50 cents back to the general fund.
It's earning way more than it ever pays out, which is bad for a 501c.
Yeah.
Whatever number
So
it is.
the idea here is instead of taking that 50 cents and keep on putting it into that assistance fund, we're just going to go ahead and yoink that back and put it into the general fund. So even though the numbers are changing from 1975 to 1990 and 2025 to 2040 for those particular things, the money is just being moved from this line to another line. So I'm in favor of this. It sounds perfectly fine to me.
I think that this is perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with it. The only thing I would probably suggest that might tighten it up a little bit is if there were a trigger clause involved, that if the assistance fund ever dips below a certain amount.
Hold on, I need to look
then
at
it
Brandy and
starts
make
to-
sure that his eyes aren't like
Trigger
twitching.
clause.
We said trigger clause.
Right, trigger clause.
Those are
You,
triggering.
you triggered him by saying trigger clause.
I would have loved to have seen
Trigger
a trigger
warning
clause
to
where
all of
the-
our listeners and watchers. We
Right.
just talked about trigger
We
clauses.
take obligations, and I can have variables in my obligations. That's
Well,
my
the-
argument,
the-
and that's a whole different.
The thing is that
We've
that's not a
already done this
variable,
podcast,
but that's not even a variable. That's one
Right.
of those things. If we would all agree that if once this passes, and it's going to pass, if the assistance fund drops below a certain fund, the Grand Secretary is the Grand Treasurer is probably going to be
Coming back
submitting,
to us and-
coming
yeah.
back to us and reversing this with another resolution by having a trigger clause that says that if it dips below a certain point, then we're just going to put the money back into refunding it. I don't see that as a big, huge problem, and I don't see it being a variable. No one's going to have a problem with it unless we can't afford it, in which case we shouldn't have that resolution.
Hopefully, the vote takes less time than it did for us to discuss it because
I
it's
know.
a
Yeah.
easy one.
Yes.
So next one,
Rick's just going to get up there and be like, so what do you think? And everybody's going to be like, meh, meh.
we love you, Rick.
Yeah.
Oh, you're back. You're
So now we're on to number 3.
All right. Number 3, this is dealing with a review
this
of
is Evie's
Grand
laptop,
Lodge
by the way.
forms. Yeah, we have notes over there.
Yes.
The Grand Secretary, with approval of the majority of the Grand Lodge trustees and the Committee on Masonic Jurisprudence, shall periodically, here's the change, periodically review, revise, add, or delete all Masonic forms. Addition, as may be necessary or appropriate. All forms must comply with the laws of the Grand Lodge of Texas or serve for the efficient conduct of business of the fraternity.
So we all know what this is. It's Brad trying to make his job easier.
Yep.
Just kidding. But
We talked a little bit about this before we got started. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I don't like the language of periodically because I think it allows for the Grand Secretary, whoever it is, not necessarily the person who's submitted this, our current Grand Secretary, but it allows them to just punt on ever reviewing it until an issue comes up, and then suddenly it's being reviewed. I think that they do need to be reviewed on a regular basis. What that regular basis is, I don't care.
Yeah.
If it's annual, if it's semi-annual, if it's every biennium, if it's every once a decade,
and
I don't care.
If anyone wants
I
to
just
see
don't
the
like the language of
documents,
periodically.
the 2025 law book, it's pages 389 to 510. These are the documents we're talking about. 121
All the forms
pages.
and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's a lot of
it's a
forms.
lot of work.
I don't disagree that it's a lot of work, but once a form is done, the only time that it needs to be revised is if something technologically changes or something legally changes. So we
Or if a
know
form
when,
just
when
needs
a
to go
form
away.
is or when a form needs to go away. And we know that because let's say when a resolution comes through and it changes something, there's probably a form that might need to be changed. I don't see that this is a particularly onerous task. But again, I'm not the Grand Secretary. I could be convinced that that periodically is a good choice of words. I'm
Well,
just a little
we will be
skeeved out
listening.
by vagueness.
We will be listening
Yes,
when this comes
we will be
up.
listening.
And that was a good 3-minute one, so easy.
Hey,
Yeah,
there we
you're-
go.
Moving right along.
You're going to be the timekeeper here. All right, we are on to
Do we
number
need
4.
a bell that we can just
Right,
ding?
ding.
Shot callers.
Right.
Oh,
Shut me
God.
up. Number 4. Let's go.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Number 4. This one deals with the Article 284. It would change it from saying duty to require audits to financial responsibility and duty to file required audits. It should be the duty of the worshipful master as soon after the 24th of June each year as reasonably possible to appoint a committee of 3 qualified members, and then it has in parentheses what it's not to include, and then after the parentheses, comma, a certified or public accountant whose duty it shall be to audit the books and accounts of the treasurer and the secretary, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Long story short, what it also says is minimum audit form number 71, which may be used by lodges. This is added in there because it's italicized, which may be used by lodges who do not meet the requirements to file a detailed report to the IRS, or a minimum audit form substitute to facilitate the transmission of financial records of lodges required to file detailed IRS 990 forms. I can tell people that are not in Texas or not in the United States.
snoring over
What
here.
the world? Lodges must maintain a lodge annual charitable report backed up by reports of individuals whose tallies are to be included in the restrictive minimum audit form, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
All that's great. Here's my heartburn. And I'm going to preface this by saying this very well could have been a typo. And I hope it was a typo, because if it wasn't a typo, then that's going to shade my opinion of this resolution very quickly. So as Cody pointed out, that the language shifts. It goes from it shall be the duty of the worshipful master to assign a committee. It lists who cannot be on that committee. And then it also says without a conjunction, a certified or public accountant. So that means, according to the way that this is phrased,
Right.
that every lodge is going to have to hire that audit committee plus a public accountant or a CPA. And that, I don't know about y'all, if y'all have priced the services of a CPA recently.
It's expensive.
That is expensive. And I don't know any lodges right now that are hiring a CPA to do their audit.
Well, and the other thing that I'm looking at that kind of puts kind of a sour in my mouth is my experience as a secretary. This lodges must maintain a lodge annual charitable report backed up by reports of individuals. That's going to fall on the secretary. And the secretary's job is already gargantuan as it is. Brandy, what do you think as a former secretary?
Well, back on the CPA part of it, if you do have one that's a member, they're probably the treasurer already. So they can't be on the committee, so they have to hire somebody outside.
Yeah.
So there's a way around the what you just mentioned, and it's just to have a log next to the sign-in sheet. Did you do something this week? Write down the mileage. Did you do something yesterday? How much money did you spend for charity? You've got to log that way. Just put it with the minutes.
Right. But again, that's going to fall upon the secretary in order to make sure that that's happening.
Well, yeah.
Hey, brother so-and-so, I know that you went I know that you went somewhere this week for Fantastic Teeth. I need you to come and write that down.
This is also for lodges that my numbers might be off, but over 50,000 a year in revenue. They need to document all that.
Yeah.
How many actually do that? We definitely don't. I mean, we track charity stuff. But
Right.
We're not 50 grand a year in revenue.
So I agree that could be a problem for a secretary. But I'm still caught up on the
language.
CPA thing. I get the impression from the language that there is an and or an or missing. And I'm hoping that it's an or, because if it's an or, then that means that the language isn't requiring a CPA be hired.
Right.
If it's an and, then that means that it would require it still.
The CPA should totally override the audit.
Yes,
committee.
and if we are hiring a CPA, why are we having an audit committee anyway? Why not
'Cause
just
we
hire
still
a
have to have-
CPA to do the audit and then report that finding
well, and
back to the
correct me
lodge?
if I'm wrong. I think that's how it is. Kind of like lodges can hire a CPA, and then the CPA gives the lodge like the
the report.
And then
Yes.
the audit committee has to look at the report and go, yeah, it's great, yay.
So,
You know.
and I totally support if a lodge wants to do that and they
So
want to, they have somebody who
this
can do
one-
that.
It's the idea of the requirement.
This is a
Yeah.
requirement by the way that this
Yeah.
is written. And I'm
It's-
not sure that that's what's intended. If
it's
it
surely
is,
gonna
I
get-
have concerns.
It'll get amended, I'm sure.
I'm hoping it does.
Yeah.
So that's my big concern.
The next two should be pretty easy.
Number 5.
Number 5 deals with creating a committee on audio visual. And this one is a permanent committee. And honestly, the committee's job is to make sure that grand annual communication, like everything happens with the audio and visual stuff, and looking at the people that have, put their names on it and stuff like that. I'm good with it.
It's the doers that are doing it anyway.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
this looks very technical, as technical as these things can be, and I don't have a problem with this. I think that it's a great idea.
It adds accountability and it gives them a chance to maybe retire from it eventually.
Yes, so good on them.
All right.
What's the next one?
The next one is just changing the name from the Committee on Internet to the Committee on Technology.
Committee on Internet
Yeah,
Technology.
it's because when we came up with this one, apparently it was like in 2000. They called it the Internet Committee.
The dangle internets.
trying to be futuristic, and
It's
so
a
now we're going
series
to
of
change.
connected tubes.
That's right.
This is
I-
Cody's Facebook wall.
Yeah,
He has no friends.
I'm in favor of the Committee on the Interwebs, but they didn't ask me. So Craig Enderle, past master, we're giving you a thumbs
It's-
up on the Committee on Technology.
It's housekeeping. It should be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No notes. I trust these people.
Word salad.
Well, number 7 kind of digs into that too.
We're okay. So this one, number 7, deals with a committee on photography. When I read through this, it's the idea that since there's so many things happening across Texas, and it isn't just in South Texas, but here in North Texas and West and East Texas, it's like creating the committee. It says the committee shall operate under the direction of the grand photographer and the supervision of the grand master or his designee. I have no problem with this one.
I'm no notes.
A grand flashers,
Go
committee.
ahead.
Go
Flash
for it.
away. Flash away.
Yeah.
Flash your flashiness.
Careful with your phraseology there. Okay?
Right. All right. Moving right along to resolution number 8.
Resolution 8 deals with some more committees, and what it is it's changing. This Article 104. It says the Committee on Petitions and Return of Lodges shall examine, consider, and report on all petitions for charters, including but not limited to petitions for restored charters, reconstituted charters, and new charters. It shall examine records. It goes on to say that, this committee shall contact all lodges that are delinquent in filing their respective annual returns after August 15th each year and work with them to make the required filings in accordance with Article 488. I don't know. When I read this, I kind of went to this section right here. It seems to me like the person that's putting this into effect is, instead of having to lean on the DDGMs to go to their lodges and be like, hey, you haven't filed your annual return, that needs to be done. It's kind of like taking that onus off of them and putting it onto the special committee. Wow.
Well, it's a standing committee that approves all new lodges or revived lodges too. Instead of appointing a committee every time you have one that wants to do it.
Yeah. So it's like a standing committee. So they take care of people that want to become lodges, and then people that haven't paid their money and are probably not going to be lodges if they don't pay their money. So,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any problems with it. The only note that I would bring up is the idea of another standing committee.
yeah, I know.
In a world where our standing committees are already overburdened or underperforming, I don't think we need another one. I just don't. That's in general. It doesn't have anything to do with this specific resolution. It's
Right.
just there's way too many committees and standing committees, and it seems to me that it just is another level of bureaucracy that we don't need.
Well, there's
But that's just me.
There's a later resolution on the resurrection of lodges that might counter though, because you might not get a group of guys that are on the committee for that lodge. If you have a standing committee, they're not motivated to do over here what those guys might want to do.
And I understand. I think I know what you're alluding to. I just
It's late.
maybe
it's cold.
Yeah, maybe I'm just old and crotchety about this.
I'm
more
with you.
standing committees is not.
I love how he used the word maybe.
Maybe
Less government, less management is always a good thing in my book.
Yeah, and standing committee, and again, it's about this idea of standing committees at the Grand Lodge. It seems to me, from my perspective, as just a constituent lodge of the Grand Lodge of Texas, a member who goes to the Grand Lodge every year, and who sees how things get done every year. It seems to me that there's a lot of committees out there that they meet maybe once a year, and barely anything gets done as it is.
Do they get special aprons?
Oh,
and
God.
yes, and
Special
they
aprons,
want
pins,
Yeah,
parking spaces.
it's just another thing that we really don't need this. And maybe I could be convinced that we do need it. Again, I'm open-minded enough to say maybe a standing committee would be a good thing for this.
I think it'll speed up the process.
Maybe it will. I don't know. I really don't. So, but I could be convinced. I'm open-minded.
We'll hear people. We'll hear people
problem.
out, right?
That was what number was that?
So we're moving
That
on
was
to
number 8. We're
resolution
going on
9.
to number 9.
Oh, well, Gabe was favorable for 8. We have your notes, Gabe. I'm not gonna read them verbatim, but
Yes, let's not.
So resolution number 9 deals with Article 126G, and it's amending it to drop the part that deals with, in matters pertaining to the Community Builder Award, the committee shall be responsible to develop, promote, and assist the lodges. In other words, the person that brought this forth is basically saying we don't need this in the law book because it's already been done. So, like, we can take that language out of there. Like, there's already been a process for the community builder, so we don't need it in there.
it makes the law book smaller. I support
I
it.
could care less
Yeah,
about
by
this.
paragraph.
A paragraph less is a paragraph less, so I'm in favor of it. It makes it doesn't change anything substantively about anything,
Right.
besides just making things smaller. So go right ahead.
Resolution 10 deals with getting rid of a committee on Grand Lodge Assistance Fund. So, in other words, if we're not using the Grand Lodge Assistance Fund, which was talked about earlier, then we don't need a committee for the Grand Lodge Assistance Fund in order to oversee that. A permanent, because it's administered by the Grand Lodge Assistance Fund is administered by the Finance Committee. So, and there is no Grand Lodge Assistance Fund committee. So why is it listed on here if we don't have one? So,
And perhaps that's why it's not being utilized very much, which is why we're now stopping funding it.
yeah. So
maybe again, this is an example of when standing committees, what's the point? Because eventually something is like this always crops up.
It's
Yeah.
housekeeping. I'm for it.
I'm for it, but it just illustrates my.
Oh wait, are we electioneering by saying what we support?
oh,
Oh, that's a later resolution. We'll get to that.
Oh yeah. So all right, let's go to number 11.
Okay, so number 11 deals with the process of restoring charters. In the case of restoration of lodge demise, if the restored lodge shall be located in a jurisdiction with 3 or more lodges, then the petition for restoration shall first be approved by the majority of lodges holding concurrent jurisdiction pursuant to Article 183. Now, before we get into this, Evie, please share with our viewers.
I hate this resolution so much. I detest this resolution.
What is your hot take?
And here's my hot take about it. The other lodges of any district should have no say about whether or not another lodge forms that was previously demised or that is being reconstituted. And I absolutely see what this is and how it's being couched. This is a bunch of people worried that another lodge is going to cannibalize the potential growth of other lodges. And here's my take on that. If you are scared that your lodge can't survive another lodge existing in your district, then you're the problem. you're the problem, because that means that you're not doing masonry in a way that makes people want to be part of it.
It's not
And
making
your
it
concern
attractive.
is that someone else might be doing masonry better than you and make people want to join that lodge instead of yours. I could not detest this resolution more, because it smacks of so many problems that we're trying to deal with in Freemasonry today. And all respect to the people who are submitting this, it's not a reflection on my opinions of them.
No.
I'm sure that they are submitting this resolution with the best of intentions. But this is the problem that we're having. This isn't solving a problem. It's creating a clique of people who decide what lodges get to exist and which ones don't.
And you're speaking
I
as a
don't
past
like
master
it.
of the original lodge in Tarrant County.
Right.
We
I'm
are
thinking
the
about
oldest
this.
lodge.
We are part of 64A.
Yep.
There are a lot of lodges in 64A, more than 3. So this would apply to
And
us.
they're all in our backyard because
if
we were the
somebody,
first.
yeah, we have 8 lodges in our temple alone. 8 blue lodges. And if there was another lodge who came up and said, we want to reconstitute a lodge in Tarrant County or from 64A that existed, 50 years ago and went away, and we want to rebuild it, I would be the first person to say, yes, more masonry. Let's get another lodge going. I would not see that as competition. I would not view that as a problem. And I certainly don't think that I should have a voice in whether or not that lodge gets to exist or not. If there's enough brothers to reconstitute a lodge, by God, do it.
Well, and I
need
think
more
with
of
the
that.
other thing you were talking about earlier is this is the idea of, you know what, free market.
This
if
is
it's
controlling the free
competition,
market, and I don't like it.
Then
I don't like it.
You
I
have
don't
to
like
do
it.
that. Okay. Any other hot takes on that one? Okay. Here we
I'm
go.
probably the only one that has a
I'm-
hot
I'm-
take on that one.
I'm
It
scared
seems
to
like-
respond.
It seems like everybody pretty much doesn't have a problem with that, and I fundamentally do. And we talked about this. I think I was the only one who expressed any concerns about it earlier.
We're a big city lodge, and it would directly affect us, but I don't care because it's not gonna hurt. It won't hurt us.
Yeah, if you're doing masonry it the right way, if you're making
But I could
a
also
Masonic
see
product that people want,
If someone's on one side of town and they can only get 3 guys to show up to meetings, and somebody reconstitutes a lodge next door, I get your argument, but there's another way to fix that too, and maybe they should be demised or merged. But that's also
and
Grand
maybe
Lodge
having
power.
a more vibrant lodge in that district would be a better idea.
Yeah.
If there's enough, let me put it this way: if there's enough interest for a lodge to exist, for that lodge that can barely open because they don't have enough members to show up,
There's probably a reason.
and there's somebody there's enough members to reconstitute a lodge, because it's going to take more than just 3 people to reconstitute a lodge. That means that something is going wrong in that lodge that only has 3 people showing up, and they shouldn't exist. They're the problems.
Well,
they should not have a voice.
they should
in
fix
whether,
their problems, not because it not.
and
no
they
longer
shouldn't
exists.
have a voice in whether or not another lodge reconstitutes. That's my problem with it. But again, I could be convinced. I'm leaving my mind open for this. I'm not suggesting
I'm
that
swaying your
that I
direction
couldn't. I'm just not a fan of this.
I feel like at Grand Lodge we need to tie a balloon to you so that people can
So everybody
people can
knows where
see
I'm
when
at.
you're leaving. So they're like, "Oh, he's not being very open-minded. He's leaving."
So number 12 is that should be a good topic.
So yeah, talk to us. Cody.
Okay, so this one I actually have some interest in because the proposer is a past master of one of the lodges that I belong to, and it deals with when you're laying cornerstones here in the jurisdiction of Grand Lodge of Texas. The language in it says that, like on the cornerstone itself, it says it was leveled by the Grand Lodge of Texas, but there is no allowance for, say, for instance, if Fort Worth 148 wanted to put sponsored a cornerstone somewhere here in Fort Worth, we couldn't put Fort Worth Lodge number 148 on it, even though we do have some around town, if you've seen those, but that was from back in the day.
This changed in 1986.
So this adds in language that says it is also permissible for the name of the sponsoring Masonic Lodge to be added after the Grand Lodge inscription in the form, assisted by name and number of sponsoring lodge. If desired. So the lodges, by the way, you guys do know that when we do cornerstones here in Texas, the sponsoring lodge is the one that purchases everything for for set occasion.
They find the place, they give them a degree, they do all
Right.
the
They do
paperwork,
all of that kind of stuff,
provide the cornerstone, they build it.
but they don't get any credit
They do
for it.
100% of the work.
Yeah. They don't get any credit for it. So it's like, what? So I'm for this. You know, if your lodge goes through everything to get a cornerstone put up there, then yeah, it should say something like assisted by, you know, such and such lodge. I'm for it.
I have no problem with it. I know that there are going to be people who suggest that there's a little bit of a look at me aspect of this. And sure, there is. And I think it's absolutely justifiable, just like Cody said.
If you spent
our
the money,
organization is going to spend the money to supply all of these things, to provide everything, I think that lodge should have the option. It's not requiring it, but it's just giving the option that lodge gets a little bit more recognition.
To be clear, they're all leveled by the Grand Lodge of Texas.
Yes, absolutely. So that doesn't change.
We're representing them regardless who's doing it. It's the Grand Lodge of Texas doing it.
And so I don't have a problem with this. I think it's a great idea. It's an option.
What I'd like to see is numbers of cornerstone levelings before the rules changed in 1986, post. I bet they're way smaller.
To see were people more motivated to do it?
I'm not really. We've got a brand new police department in Bembert going up. I'm not going to try to get a cornerstone there because it's going to cost us $500. That, and there's a closer lodge that would do it anyway.
Well, and getting people in and, you know, coordinating all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. The city council's got to agree.
I think it's great. I think this is perfectly okay.
Now, if we went back to the 1920s and 30s where we actually publicized everything we did, we'd be on the front page of the paper and it's Merciful Master so-and-so leveled it. It'd be awesome. We get some press for it, but we don't get that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is great. I have no problems with it. I understand the concerns that it might be a look at me thing and an ego driven thing, but I'm less concerned about that in an age whenever
it's a look at me for the Grand Lodge doing it too. So
yeah, and that's the thing.
I want more of them to happen, and this
I
is
would
the
rather
mechanism to make it
lodges
happen
get
more.
Local lodges get more attention.
I jokingly threw it in the conversation earlier about making it a Vanguard criteria, which maybe you should get some points if you do some.
Yes, the Vanguard thing. I hate calling it an award. It's not an
thing.
award. If you have to apply for it, it's not an award. It's great. It's a checklist. The Vanguard checklist. That's going to be my new language.
That checklist. The Vanguard checklist.
There should be a reason other than just feeling good for making the Grand Lodge of Texas permanently emblazoned. I want something else to do it.
Yeah, I think it's great.
That's my ego.
I'm on your side.
Ooh, so. Lucky number 13.
Number 13.
All right. So first off, I'm going to give a shout out to the person that wrote this because the whereas, like when they write the resolutions, very short and sweet. Masonic history is being lost.
I love that.
Yeah.
So that needs to be on.
Older records start to deteriorate after some time.
T-shirt with that. Give me a T-shirt with that.
Masonic records are being lost.
Yes, I love that.
So I like that, but when you go into therefore be it resolved, so this is Article 337, it deals with the minutes of the lodge, it adds the sentence that all records of consolidated and demised lodges may be electronically digitized. Okay, I'm kind of lost as to, are you saying that, it's now going to be like who's in charge of that? Who pays for that? It's the sentence is just weird.
Well, what happens right now when a lodge demise? Where do the minutes go?
Well, okay.
If it's consolidated, it goes into with the lodge that they
straight up demise lodge. Where do they go? It goes to the basement of the Grand Lodge.
Pretty much, but so consolidated lodges.
But
so we know that those come to the lodge that they're consolidating with. Demise lodges, everything goes to Grand Lodge, hopefully.
And to Brandy's question, which I think is a very valid one, is as it relates to this article, or excuse me, this resolution, is who's going to do this at Grand Lodge?
Well, and who's going to pay for it?
And who's going to pay for it, and who's going to do it? Is this adding to the Grand Secretary's
job? Well, this
job?
Isn't saying you have to do it. It gives you the option to do it.
But the thing is, couldn't the Grand Lodge do that anyway if they really wanted to? I mean, do they need this resolution? I could be off base. I'm not. I don't know. Pretend to be the law expert here, but it seems to me that if a demised lodge, if their minutes go to the Grand Lodge and that ends up in a warehouse somewhere, then it seems to me that they belong to the Grand Lodge, and the Grand Lodge could at any point already do this. So I'm not sure that this sentence is really doing anything.
I want to see.
Does that make sense?
I want to see a legal scholar.
It leaves a
define
lot of things
digitizing.
to question. And plus, it just first off, just the sentence itself is clunky. That all records of consolidated and demised lodges may be electronically digitized.
Is that a complete sentence?
No, it's not a complete sentence. That's
Okay,
what I'm saying.
just- I was-
it's not a complete sentence, and it's just like tacked on to the
Yeah.
bottom where it talks about this.
It's weird, and it does. I think I get the intention.
Yeah.
And I support the intention, but
We're not
the-
voting on intention.
But what I'm, and the second thing is it a good idea to put another sentence in there that basically gives Grand Lodge or a lodge an ability that they already have? Because is digitizing or electronically digitizing minutes, isn't that already something that we can do?
I want to see
don't
clarity
think
on
so.
that.
No.
Yeah.
No,
I
no.
would like some clarity on that. Whether or not
The lodge
can we already
minutes.
do that?
The lodge minutes remain in the possession of the lodge secretary under lock and key.
Yeah.
But can there be
Open
a
into there.
digital? Can there be a digital form of those minutes? They don't necessarily have to be official.
I certainly hope so because I know a lot of secretaries that use laptops.
Okay,
I
and
feel
that's my
like
point. So if that means that if they are in a laptop somewhere, they have been electronically digitized. So the question then becomes, is it necessary for this to even exist if that's already happening?
Well,
and then
we're
B,
talking about demised lodges.
but the
Yeah.
demise lodge is dead. So who's going to do it on their behalf?
Anyone that wants to.
And couldn't grant it if this is already property of the Grand Lodge, don't they already have the ability to electronically digitize
This is giving
anything that
this
they
is
want?
giving them the ability to do
But
that.
don't they already have that? That's my point. Is don't they already have it?
But see,
I-
even
If they
just
wanted,
even
if they wanted to take those minutes
Right.
that are in physical form and put it through a scanner
Legally speaking, there's
and
no
digitize it,
there-
could they not?
there's no like sunset where the law changes where we have access to that. It's not public record.
But it's not about public record. This is about the Grand Lodge has possession
Well,
of these minutes,
that
and they
secretary-
can already electronically digitize them.
Not legally.
and see what you're talking about, Evie,
why
is
wouldn't they be able to legally?
Because
Because a demised lodge, all the leftovers go to the Grand Lodge.
so
all of their possessions and everything.
so
go
the
back to
Grand
them.
Lodge
So
has the
they
right.
become-
The Grand
they
Lodge has
become
the
owners.
right to look at the minutes. They don't have a right to possess the minutes.
But if
Demised
if,
or not.
if the demised lodge, all of the things go back to the Grand Lodge. It becomes their property.
This is clarifying where they have the right and the ability to do that.
I mean,
but see, but
maybe
there is
I'm-
no
maybe-
clarification here because again, the sentence is weird, and I'm also going to mention the fact that it's 2025. We're talking about like, can I put things on microfiche? You know,
Yeah.
for
Well,
those
I mean,
of you that have
I
no
just-
idea what microfiche is,
I don't have a problem with it.
I can tell you-
If we need to do it, let's do it.
I can tell you the heart behind it. The stuff's getting moldy and just rotting to nothingness.
No,
we're
and I
losing
understand
history.
that. So if the question is, does the Grand Lodge have the ability to do this, and this is giving them the ability to do that? Sure, let's do it. Great, thumbs up, let's do it. If the Grand Lodge already has the ability to do this because they own the property, they own the minutes, then they already have this. I don't see a point in it. But
I'm not going to say they own
maybe
the
they
minutes.
don't, and
they
maybe
have the
they're
right to
clarifying.
look at them. They don't own them.
and see,
And I don't.
okay,
I
who
don't know
does?
the language exactly in the law book for that. The
But again,
secretary
here's
of
the
the demised
thing.
lodge owns
Then I
them.
will take your word for that, and I will say, if this needs to
Do
happen,
you-
let's do it.
Do you know where our
For-
20-year-old minutes are?
They're in a safe in the temple,
Yeah, on the second floor, and
Yes,
it's
and-
two-person access to get to it.
and I support that.
Yeah.
But if it,
Now,
at
the
any
ones-
point
the ones
can we not
prior to-
digitize those?
The ones prior to 1928 burned. So
Right, but could we digitize those that are in the safe if we wanted to?
I'm not sure.
So if we can't,
If our junior ward was
That's a
here,
problem.
we could ask him. He's our lawyer. Sorry, Omar.
why did he quickly run out of the
Right,
room?
Omar, come back.
Okay, but here, based upon
Great.
this, based upon this conversation between the three of us, and two past masters, a current worshipful master, two former secretaries, here's the thing. This right here, we have questions on it, and we've already been in those chairs and things like that. So there needs to first be a clarification of, can lodges digitize their minutes and things like that?
If they can't, that's a problem.
If they
because that
can't,
means a
yeah.
lot of lodges
So
are violating
there's that.
the law.
But then the second thing is, just by looking at this word for word, the way that it is, I have a problem with it because it's clunky. I don't get what it's like
Yeah,
going.
I agree.
It's just open.
I
up
want some clarity.
It's
Yeah.
open up the chest to the demised lodges for access. That's all I see.
But who? And I think that's the big question that I'm going to keep on.
Whoever wants to do it.
But well, does that mean that like Joe Schmo, who's not a Mason, could do it? That's a problem. The lack of clarity here.
I see an amendment coming or
I
tabling.
hope so. I hope so because
Somebody
I love the fact that this is going to be put into Grand Lodge law that Masonic history is being lost.
Yeah,
I want that on a T-shirt right now. Past Master Corley, please put that on a T-shirt.
Can we get your permission
I'm
to put that on
scrolling
a
Facebook.
T-shirt?
I'm seeing that right now advertised. It's weird.
We're just going to put that. Whereas Masonic history is being lost.
I love it. I want that on a T-shirt. Okay, let's go on to Resolution 14.
Resolution 14, this deals with Masonic allegations, and what it does is it adds into the procedure that the Grand Secretary shall file each pending allegation in his office and forward a copy of the pending allegation to the Grand Master and the accused within 2 business days. So the way that I read this is that it's adding in the language that the allegations are given to the Grand Master and the person that's accused. And
I can't say that I disagree with that. I think it's a good idea.
I'm not hating that.
I don't disagree, and it surprises me that this isn't just procedure.
It's
because
very weird.
It seems to me that smacks of being able to do things
There-
secretly without the accuser knowing.
There have been
that
people
things are,
charged and never heard they were charged.
and
until
that's
it's too late to
not okay.
And like
respond.
who's
And I think that that's a good-
accusing me? Oh, you know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that this is for transparency's sake. This is long overdue, and I applaud this
So
this change.
I agree.
Yeah,
I don't see any problem with that one. Okay.
15.
This will be a good one.
15. This one has to deal with the burden. Calm down.
My head's already going to explode.
We spent 30 minutes talking about this before we started recording.
Okay. So this deals with Article 557, which deals with Masonic trials and things like that. The accused is presumed to be innocent, and the burden of establishing his guilt devolves upon the prosecution, and such guilt must be proved. It removes the language beyond a reasonable doubt and adds the language by clear and convincing evidence. This standard of proof shall apply to all Masonic charges brought under the jurisdiction of the Grand Lodge of Texas on or after January 18th, 2025.
So it's going to be retroactive
Well, it would be...
because it's 2025.
Oh, yeah. It would be for anything this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything so I don't know what's going on with this.
That's...
I hate this. I don't like it at all.
Okay, now let's preface this because we talked about this prior.
None of us are attorneys.
We pre-gamed on
None of
this
us
one.
are attorneys.
We are not attorneys. This is not legal. We used technology to look it up. In the U.S. and I believe in Texas, it's the same. If you are brought up in a civil trial, the burden of proof is placed again on the plaintiff, and you have to show, you have to show a certain level of stuff, a threshold. And then in a criminal trial, the threshold is beyond a reasonable doubt.
It is the higher threshold because it's
the
criminal.
higher threshold.
The lower threshold is clear.
Oh, it's the
and convincing-
preponderance of evidence
Yeah, the
in a
preponderance
civil.
of evidence.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so what it looks to me that they are trying to do is thread a needle here between the civil standard in Texas criminal and civil law and the legal like criminal standards. And the reason I don't like this is I think that when it comes to our standards of jurisprudence, that if we're bringing someone up on charges that could get them, kicked out of Freemasonry or suspended from Freemasonry, that the vagueness of clear and convincing evidence is just a little too vague for me. I like a higher standard, and I think that we owe our brothers that standard.
Well, and I think looking at this one, if it's good enough for the U.S. judicial system to use the language beyond a reasonable doubt, then why do we need to deviate from that?
Well, and I'll play devil's advocate there because we also use in our legal system the preponderance of evidence. and that is a legal standard too. I just think that between those two legal standards of determining guilt or innocence, that we should err on the side of the stricter expectation,
I agree.
not the less. And I would just
Anything that
I
makes
would
it
like to see this stay the same.
anything
So
that
I'm
makes
not,
it easier to file charges on someone, I don't really support.
yeah, I think that because after
Not file, but convict.
I mean, after the last 5 years
Thankfully-
of dealing with these things,
Thankfully, we personally haven't been involved with the Masonic trial yet.
yes, and I don't wish it upon anyone.
No.
But if there is a trial, I would hope that the presumption of innocence is only we are holding the presumption of innocence, and that it is only convicted upon the standard that we have now, which is beyond a reasonable doubt. And I think that is, when it comes to Masonic law, I think that's a good standard.
Well, and I mentioned this earlier, and I'm just going to bring this up. We're already looking at resolutions that deal with, burden of proof. We have background checks and stuff like that. What are going on in some of these lodges?
How many criminals are applying to be members? Is there a crime spree in Texas Freemasonry that I'm not aware of?
I'm just saying,
I mean,
Maybe we need to add verbiage that felonies for American or convicted of a felony in the United States.
Maybe that would help.
Maybe that's how we're doing
clarify that. It's weird. This is weird. I'm just not sure that again, as always, as I've said before, I could be convinced that this is necessary. I would love to hear the explanation for this beyond
we're going to
the
need
whereases, but right now I don't like loosening standards for convicting someone. I think that we have these high standards for a reason, and we owe it to our brothers to make sure that we're convicting them only by the highest standard of evidence, not by a preponderance or the language they're using, clear and convincing evidence.
See, and for me, one of the other things that I'm kind of thinking about here is like, was this brought up? Did somebody think about this because they were privy to something that, somebody was brought up on Masonic charges, and that they were charged with these things and convicted, and they were convicted, or I should say they weren't convicted even though they should have been.
Yeah, I would love to see an example
Right.
of why this.
But this feels to me like, again, there was a problem at one lodge, and that problem, they couldn't solve it themselves, so they're looking to the Grand West for us to solve their problem.
Well, and think about this for a moment, though. Let's put ourselves into a headspace here. The burden of being beyond all reasonable doubt is too onerous, but the preponderance of evidence is not onerous enough. So we have to have like a third way. What was wrong with either of the other two to begin with? Why do we need this second, kind of Goldilocks version of a standard? I don't think so. We just need to bite the bullet and say, yes, this is the standard that we have. It's beyond a reasonable doubt. Or we're going to go with the preponderance of evidence. That's the lower standard. We don't need to reinvent or like redefine things here.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong with this one. If we're looking at this one as well, this is during a Masonic trial, so there is a jury of peers there, and if I remember correctly, in a trial, doesn't the judge usually instruct the jury and say, like, this is the standard that has to be brought up? Things have to be brought to this. They clarify it
when the jury goes to
right.
debate. And so, again, I get it. I think, first of all, I think this is wholly unnecessary. Second, I don't like the idea behind it. I don't even understand the idea behind it. I would love to have a conversation with someone about why this is even necessary.
We're going to.
Well, but I mean, like,
next month.
on a personal level, like like not at a grand communication kind of a situation. But
Right.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to resolution number 16.
All right, so resolution number 16 deals with some wording in Article 292. The way that I read this is that it's getting rid of, or it's clarifying language. The new language would be such election is dealing with lodge elections. It says such election may be held in an entered apprentice, fellowcraft, or master mason's lodge at the worshipful master's option, at or after the hour provided in the bylaws of the lodge. So that new wording is I guess clarifying or replacing the language that's struck out there.
And it seems, if I'm reading this correctly, it seems like the struck out language is essentially saying the same thing.
Is saying the same
but
thing,
just
but
a
in a
lot
weirder way.
wordier and a lot more convoluted. There's a lot more convolution there. I like the new language. Is it necessary? I don't know. I think it cleans things up.
Well, it does
So-
say at or after the hour provided in the bylaws.
And see,
that's-
like
but
what it's
you already
replacing
have to do that.
Yeah, and what it
Well-
says, what it's replacing is at or after the usual hour
Right. Well,
on
let's-
usual hour for opening provided by. So
And again, it seems like a distinction without a difference. Is it
Yeah.
cleaning anything up? Is this making any substantive
Well, but
differences to Grand
our-
Lodge law?
our
No.
state meeting starts at 7. What if we decide to have our election at 11?
Well, that's after the time.
It would be
of-
legal by this resolution change.
Well, it's already legal already. The only thing you can't do is have the election before the time. of your
before the
stated
time,
meeting.
yeah.
You can have it any time after.
Well, yeah, you can draw the meeting out as long as you want.
Right, and so that's so it's already legal to do that. My point is that yes, is that possible? I think it's a distinction without a difference.
Yeah.
It's not really substantively changing anything about Grand Lodge.
Here's
law,
the
way
other
we do things.
possibility. What if you don't have enough members to open an inter-apprentice lodge?
Well, but it's already kind of says that in this very convoluted
Well, you-
sentence
and you
that's being
can't-
struck
and you
out.
can't
But it
elect
says
VAs to
at the
office
worshipful
anyway.
master's option. So I think the worshipful master, if they're sitting there and they see that, hey, there's an entered apprentice here. Okay, first off, entered apprentice, you don't get a vote. Okay. Second thing, if he sees that we'll say that there's 4 people there, there's himself, 2 others, and an EA. Then he has to open it in a master's mason's lodge, and that's what this is kind of saying there. So I'm with you, Evie. This is like potato, honestly.
Yeah,
It's giving you-
I don't dislike it.
Isn't it giving you the specific
it's-
option to kick EAs and fellow crafts out to have an election?
Well,
Is that the way I read it?
I mean, but the worshipful master already has that.
I know.
That's the thing. In
And
the
why-
language that's being struck out is essentially saying the same thing that
Yeah, and why
that
would you
the new
possibly
language.
want to do that?
So I mean, I don't see a problem with it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
We
It's
let
beige.
EAs
This is oatmeal to me. I mean, it's
EAs come to our
fine.
meetings.
It's
if
the
they can, no matter what.
2026 Pantone color of the year.
Right.
Yeah.
White.
Cloud dancer. I mean, white.
White.
They are members too. They should be able to win these
So-
elections. They're so much fun.
Yeah. So I mean, okay, it's great.
June
Let's go
24th,
on.
by the way, Cody. I hope you're ready.
What?
June 24th. I hope you're ready.
Hey, should tradition prevail? I don't know.
I'm not
moving
sure.
on to 17.
I'm not sure I'm going to nominate yet. I'm
Yeah.
just
Oh,
saying.
gosh. Wow. Okay.
I'm still on the fence.
So Article 17 deals with getting rid of a few things in the idea of Article 276A, which is the qualifications for being elected to positions in lodge. In Section 2, administrative competence. It gets rid of the language that says whose term expires upon the appointment of his successor in office. Any person who has previously served as a worshipful master of a lodge under the jurisdiction of the Grand Lodge of Texas is exempt from the requirements of this article. And then it goes on to deleting some more things about attending committee on the work stuff and things like that. Long story short, the way that this reads to me is it's getting rid of the exemption that past masters currently have in the state of Texas for not attending ritual forums and exams. In other words, if you're a past master, if this went through, if you're a past master, you would be expected to attend a ritual forum by the Committee on Work.
It's also discounting the signature of a member of Committee on Work, too. It basically says that's not worthy. What's the exact verbiage there? Let's see here. Sorry, my laptop's broken.
No, I'm looking here.
Mere completion of a Form 101A or obtaining a signature thereon does not, by itself, demonstrate proficiency in the ritual or administration of a lodge.
Oh, you mean in the whereas section where it's
Oh
talking
yeah,
about
yeah.
that?
Sorry,
Yeah.
the fourth one
In the
down.
whereas, that's where it's given
kind of
like the reasonings behind it.
to me, it's a shot at the committee on work members. I mean, and that's not a good idea.
Here's the thing. This is
I will agree that those forms were very confusing and they were a hassle. For us, they're a hassle. For the guys that have to drive 300-400 miles for a form, they're a way bigger hassle.
yeah.
And there are. I did the math. So, or not OLT. Sorry, the officer leadership training. There's 4 scheduled right now. Ours in Fort Worth is in February. It's 600 miles from El Paso. That's the closest one. Now,
Yeah.
granted, we're not scheduled past May, so there'll be other ones possibly, but there's only 4 right now. So to be installed as a warden, you have to go through Wait, you don't have to do 101 to be a warden. You got to do 201 to be a senior warden, I think.
You mean an OLT?
Yeah, you got to do one. Well, you got to have one of them or
Yeah.
the life program.
Here's my problem with this one. If we take away like, okay, you've already served as a worshipful master, you don't need you have this exemption. If we take that away,
This directly affects you in June.
huh?
It directly affects you in June.
Well, the thing is what I also see with this one is we know that there's lodges that are struggling,
Mhm.
that are going to be probably in this next year, they're going to be recycling worshipful masters. If this were to go into effect, then that's going to throw it for a loop. You're going to have lodges that are going to struggle and stuff like that. I am not in favor of putting things into place that are going to make lodges that are already struggling to struggle even more. I don't like this.
I can see the benefit of it. I can absolutely make an argument that past masters, even like myself, you,
Mm-hmm.
anybody who's a past master, it might be a good idea for them to go through and be refreshed on some of the things that they need, like some of these things that these exemptions would eliminate.
But here's
But should we make it a requirement? Should we? I think that Brandy's point is more along the lines of what I would love to see addressed. I think that this resolution is in search of the wrong problem. The problem that we need to deal with is the distance that we're having to deal with all of these things where we're expecting lodge members from the far reaches of different areas to have to travel long distances to do things and making that a requirement. I think that is the problem that we need to be searching for a resolution to solve, is how do we make things easier, not more onerous?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this doesn't do that, to your point. I think it makes things more onerous on them because it requires them to do things because they are no longer exempt. Makes it more difficult for lodges to attend these things because now they're going to have to travel, potentially, in theory, upwards of 600 miles or so to get the required training or to go through a life program, which doesn't necessarily require traveling, but still. I think that this is not solving the problem. This is treating a symptom, not the disease.
Not the problem.
We need to be treating the disease, which is making sure that our leadership is well trained, competent, and the leadership training is available, and that it's easily accessed, and that it's not expensive, because the last thing I want is for leadership trainings to become a cash stream for the Grand Lodge.
Well, and like you said, Evie, the idea here that we're really talking about is if your lodge is electing a worshipful master or any of the officers to the line that cannot perform the job of the officer, then you have a much bigger problem than sending them to a forum. There is something kind of the roots of the tree are starting to rot. So there is a bigger problem that needs to be addressed.
Right. I fundamentally don't have any heartburn about this one, but I think it's in search of the wrong. So it's solving a problem that is just a symptom, not the disease itself that we need to be addressing.
Right.
And it's probably a bigger philosophical issue than what a resolution can fix.
It's going to make some lodges really hard to operate.
Yeah, and that's I understand that there is a threshold by which, okay, we need to just make people better and things need to operate better, but at the same time, I'm not sure that this is the right way to do it. So I'm on the fence. I could go either way on this one. So
It'd be fun to hear the arguments.
yeah, and we're going to.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing. Unless it gets pulled, which I kind of hope that it doesn't, because I would love to hear more.
Again,
about
those
this.
of you that are attending Grand Lodge, make sure that you watch for Evie and the balloon that we're going
And
to
the red balloon.
We're going to
be like.
You're going to be like Pennywise. That's right. So
All right.
if you don't see the red balloon, then he chickened out and he left the room.
Oh, I'm not going to be leaving the room. So let's go over proposed resolution number 18.
All right. So 18 deals with Title 5, Chapter 4. This is This is dealing with
It's electioneering.
Electioneering. Yes, electioneering.
This is really wordy.
So it's very wordy. So I would encourage anybody who is in the in the jurisdiction of Texas, make sure that you have accessed these things. You can find them on your portal through Grandview, and you can kind of read through this. Long story short, what it does is it outlines where you can, like, if you're making yourself available, where you can like advertise that and say, yes, I've made myself available. Who can talk about like, hey, I'm in support of this person. It kind of does that. It talks about that you can talk about these particular things at candidate forums, that you can do things during stated meetings and stuff like that. So it's really kind of defining electioneering without saying like, oh, that's electioneering. Well, what exactly is it? I don't know, but we think this is what electioneering is. It defines it.
So I will say, on the one hand, this is a really wordy proposition. It is one of the wordier propositions that has been submitted that I've read through. On the other hand, to Cody's point, I think that, considering the most recent Masonic drama, it is important that we have these sorts of clarifications so that there is clear and concise guidance on what constitutes electioneering and what doesn't. And by saying that by posting on Facebook or on Instagram or on some social media platform like a podcast, that you are making yourself available for, some grand office, that shouldn't be considered electioneering.
Or just saying you like so and so.
Or me saying that so and so's running for the Grand West, or whatever, the Grand West, running for the Grand West. That makes sense.
Well, I mean,
that they are making themselves available.
We're running to find our seats in the Grand West.
That they are making themselves available for the Grand Junior Warden, for instance, hypothetically,
which would be the South.
and that I support their doing so. Should that be considered electioneering? No, I don't think so. I think electioneering is trying to coerce votes from other people.
It sounds like to me, like, again, with the clarification of this one, because in my opinion, the last few years, the word electioneering was kind of used as a
it was weaponized.
We weaponized the word electioneering. So let's go ahead and do this. And again, I've said this before. If this is kind of like the electioneering 1.0 version, I'm good with it. Let's get started with it, and then we can kind of clean up the word salad and things like that as much as we need to. But we need a starting point.
I expect that this is going to be amended. I expect it to be amended in some form, not because it's too long or too short, but it's very, very, it's not very concise. And I would like to see it a little bit more concise, but I like it. I think it's good. Any thoughts from you, Brandy?
I support it.
Good deal. Electioneering. Number 19.
Stop weaponizing that word. All right. So resolution 19 deals with deferred. Gosh, I can't speak. Deferred adjudication. Deferred adjudication
of a felony.
Yeah. So what this is saying is that if a Mason is charged with a felony and gets deferred adjudication, he's immediately suspended, but then he can go, once he finishes his term of adjudication, he has to go back to each of his like lodges and get apply for membership again, reinstated and stuff like that. If I remember correctly, last Grand Lodge, didn't we have something like this where if somebody was suspended and then came back, they had to go to each of their lodges to do that? Did we vote that up or down? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I don't. I remember the discussion distinctly. I will say this. This goes back to our earlier point. What is going on in Texas Freemasonry that this is a problem? Is this a problem that happened at one lodge, or maybe in one district? Maybe.
Well,
but I don't. This looks to me to be a solution in search of a problem.
Well, the wording is making deferred adjudication the same thing as a conviction, and it's not.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Deferred adjudication, and again, we're not lawyers here. This is a legal term that
if it's
I'm
crime,
not sure that
if it's a crime of moral turpitude, we care.
Well, and I get it. I care.
But we got to find that first.
I don't. But deferred adjudication simply means that the disposition of this particular case is being deferred, and that just like when you get deferred adjudication for a speeding ticket,
Yeah, you go on probation forever.
you're on probation for a specific period of time there, and then at the end of that successful probationary period, it is wiped away clean as though it didn't happen, and that's fine. So if this is a felony with deferred adjudication, the first inference here is that no one's going to be given deferred adjudication for capital murder or a crime involving children. This is not.
This is like tax evasion or something.
Right. I can't. I would love to see an example of this where this was really a problem. And the second thing is, at the end of the successfully completed deferred adjudication period, this is going to be wiped away anyway, because there's not a conviction involved in it.
Right.
And so you're treating somebody, to Brandy's point, as though they were convicted and they are operating as a Mason under conviction, but they aren't. They, through whatever legal means necessary through our criminal court system, successfully got deferred adjudication, which means that they are not going to be found guilty. And as long as they, on this probationary period, don't do anything naughty, they're going to be fine. And then even in my understanding is this probably won't even show up on a background check. So even if we background checked them,
it's not going to be.
It's not going to show up.
It's going to be expunged or.
So this again is a resolution that is seeking to solve what problem? I know not what.
What I was also wondering about with some of these things that we're discussing tonight is, when does the idea of precedent come into like operation of a lodge? Like, has there been a precedent set somewhere that we can, like, if this were to happen, could we follow that precedent without it actually having to be in the law book? Like, oh, it happened here and this is how it was dealt with, so we're going to do the same thing.
Or if this is such a big problem, why not just bring this person up on charges? If this is such a big deal, if this person is so problematic, that this felony thing, and this is where maybe I'm getting stuck, is it looks to me like the word felony is being used. It's carrying a lot of weight. It's doing a lot of work in this resolution.
Well, you could get a felony from a probation violation on a misdemeanor.
And
and
ultimately,
defer
my
adjudicate
point
that.
is that when we start throwing around the word felony, there's going to be a whole bunch of people in that hall whose heads are going to explode because the word felony is being thrown away, and they want to throw the book at anybody who has anything felony going around them. And I just think that this word is in this whole resolution is that there is not a problem that this is solving. What problem are they looking to solve? What specific challenge is facing so many Masons across Texas and so many lodges that we need an entire resolution that deals with this? This one's gonna be a heavy lift to convince me that this is necessary.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand maybe some theory behind it, and there might be some very specific situation that this is seeking to address. But again, if it's a unique problem to a specific district or a specific lodge, solve that problem for yourselves. We don't need that. We don't need this solution.
Here's what I'll say. We can make a resolution with 5 words. Guard well the West Gate.
That's all it is. And if they're already in and they commit a felony, or they're on deferred adjudication, bring them up on charges if it's that big of a problem in your lodge. Don't resolve, like, don't create this like weird, like, threading a needle situation where like all of these things are hypothetically. We can't legislate every possible legal issue that someone lodge is going to handle in this state of Texas.
And there might
you are
be-
going to have to be elected at some point as a lodge officer to make decisions on your own that are
And answer
in the
questions
best
that are difficult to answer.
Yeah, you can do this on your own. I promise. You all have the ability to do it. We've been doing it for how many years in the state of Texas now? We can do this. We don't need a resolution that tells us how to do this. Bring them up on charges. Problem solved.
Yeah, we're gonna put a Bob the Builder in there.
Yes.
Can we do it? Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we
Rosie
can.
the Riveter. Yes, we can.
All right.
Number 20.
So number 20, this one deals with Article 512, the status of a Mason under allegations of Masonic disciplinary violation, and it strikes the language from it that says he shall not be entitled to demit a certificate of withdrawal or a certificate of good standing, and then it gets rid of the language or in the case of death prior to final conclusion of the disciplinary action. Gets rid of that language, a Masonic burial. So the way that I read this is that if this were to be approved, if a Mason is laboring under Masonic disciplinary action, he is no longer able to have a Masonic burial.
Well, here's the interesting thing, though, that I think is worth pointing out. This resolution seeks to change nothing substantive about this. It's striking language. If this resolution passes, a Mason who is laboring under disciplinary action is still not entitled to a Masonic burial. If this resolution fails, that same Mason is still not entitled to a Masonic burial. That is not what is changing. That what is being struck out, at least in this copy, and this could be a typo, but it's the clause right before it. It's just extraneous language that says, or in the case of death prior to the final conclusion of disciplinary action. That does not substantively change anything about this resolution. There's not that is just extra words in there. And I'm all about cutting out extra words from our law book. But that's all that is. I see no substantive change to this. Am I off base on this?
Honestly, don't understand it.
I mean, I don't understand why it's being struck, because it's not the substantive part of this section of law. It's just a clause that defines why the Masonic burial is being denied.
Right.
It has nothing to do with whether or not the burial is still available.
This is one of those where you can see my note, need to hear reasoning. 'Cause
Yeah.
I want to know why they worded it that way. I don't understand it at all.
Yeah, I don't know why this is what's being struck. It's weird and maybe a typo. I've never seen the resolutions come out with typos before, so I'm gonna suggest that it's not a typo.
I think this is something.
Maybe is it just cleaning it up?
I guess I'm with you, Brandy. I'm going to need to hear like the reasoning behind
I
this
don't have
because
my law book with me, but in their Grandmaster decision about intern apprentice being eligible. Well, intern apprentice is eligible for burial.
we talked about Masonic burials and stuff like that, but this one deals specifically with people that are laboring under Masonic disciplinary action. So I'm gonna be with you, Brandy. I need to hear the reasoning behind this, and then I can make a decision from there.
And the third whereas says that it's whereas to bring this article into conformity with Article 360. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, which provides discretion to a worshipful master of a lodge to refuse a Masonic funeral under circumstances.
This doesn't, but this whereas it doesn't. What is being struck out doesn't change that.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm a little confused as
maybe
to what the
maybe
what the
they
issue is.
forgot to finish striking out a Masonic burial. I don't know.
Maybe I don't know, and that's the only thing that I can imagine is the typo here.
Because when you look at the whereas up at the top, it says a Masonic funeral service is one of the most significant and more importantly, the final Masonic burial rite that bestowed upon a Mason. This nation has anchored its laws in the tradition of people being considered innocent until proven guilty. So it would seem to me like they would want to strike the idea of
The
like
Masonic burial.
the Masonic burial. Like, now let's get rid of anything that mentions Masonic burial. So if I'm 89 years old and on my deathbed, and for some reason I'm under Masonic, disciplinary violations,
and you happen to unfortunately pass,
then I can still
you
have
still
a
get
Masonic funeral. Yeah.
And I think it sounds like from the whereas that's where it's going, but the amount what's being struck out doesn't change that.
Yeah, it strikes out like some
Weird clause that doesn't change that a Masonic burial is still going to be denied to somebody who's operating under.
So that needs to get cleared up.
Yeah, we need to clear that up either through what's going on or at grand communication. So number 21,
skulls. Oh yes. Okay. So so this one deals with the regulation of the apron, and so it adds in there the idea it will be permissible to have embroidered upon the bib or body of the apron the appropriate jewel of the office, and upon the body of the apron below the bib the square and compasses circumscribing the letter G. It gets rid of the conjunction or, the all-seeing eye, aka the eye of providence, and then adds in parentheses. It adds in the language the skull or any of the symbols of Freemasonry appropriate to be displayed. So it's adding the skull back into the good graces.
The interesting thing here is, so first of all, let's just say, I am 1,000% in favor of putting skulls on everything. Skulls, 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 and more skulls. A skull for you, a skull for you. Everybody gets a skull.
We've all
So
got
many
one.
skulls.
We've already got skulls. In fact, we went through a period of time whenever we were trying to put skulls on everything, just to prove a point.
When did that end?
It still has.
I'm looking at a skull on you right now,
right
on your ring.
Yeah, no. No, this one doesn't have a skull on it.
Oh.
But at
Your
any rate,
glasses checked.
my old one does. But at any rate, that's not the interesting thing.
But you're wearing your skull tonight.
I am.
There.
But that's not the interesting thing. Notice what's struck out in the parenthetical statement.
You mean the or?
The or.
Yeah,
That means that you are going to
have the G and.
That means that all of those things. It's not it's getting rid of optional language.
Yeah.
That's weird. It says that those things will be. So let's see here.
When you're looking at the whereas,
it will be permissible to have embroidered upon the bib or body of the apron the appropriate jewel of the office, and upon the body of the apron below the bib the square and compass circumscribing the letter G, the all-seeing eye.
I see what it's doing. It's getting rid of that or before the all-seeing eye, because with the addition of the skull, then you would. The way that the language is in there, that would be a list of
so it's
the letter G, the all-seeing eye, the skull, or.
I was getting thrown off by the parenthetical statement right before because it's
it's correcting the language and stuff like that.
I get it. So that it wasn't doing what I thought it was doing. I misspoke there.
Yeah, no, but it was weird. It was weird seeing that until I read through it again and went, "Oh, okay, I see what it's doing."
Now I see what it's doing. Yeah, good point.
Okay.
So yeah, in favor. Let's do it.
Choices. We're in favor of choices.
Yeah, do more. Number 22.
Number 22. Okay, so this deals with Article 340, which is the permission to acquire, sell, lease, or mortgage, lodge, personal property, or real estate. It's adding in an Article D. No lodge shall enter into a lease, rental agreement, license, or similar arrangement for the use or occupancy of lodge-owned real property or facilities without first obtaining the written consent of the Grand Master. And then it goes into that kind of stuff right there. I have my takes on this.
Please share your takes, because so do I.
We do not need the permission of the Grand Master or the Grand Lodge of Texas to do what we need to do with our own personal property.
Amen. Stop trying to legislate the Grand Master into every decision we make. I don't need the Grand Master's approval to decide that if we have for instance, if we have a building and we want to lease out the basement or the first floor of that to, let's say, a business, because we want to have some income from our lodge, we shouldn't have to have the Grand Master's approval to do that. And here's the thing, the Masonic Temple. Does this mean now that every time we rent out our space for a wedding that the Grand Master now has to approve that?
Lodge rooms, doesn't it? Or no, it says property.
It says real property.
I'm jumping ahead. I'm sorry.
Real property.
So if we're going to lease it out for other people to use, then that means that the Grand Master is going to have to approve. I'm going to be honest. I am all for malicious compliance. I am all for sending a request every single time and just inundating the Grand Master and the Grand Secretary's office with so much paperwork that they are going to rue the day that this ever was passed. This is a bad resolution for a whole host of reasons, not the least of which is the Grand Lodge doesn't have any business getting involved in this.
Well, and here's the deal is, come on. We are men. We are big boys. Please let us handle our own business.
Put your big boy pants on and make the best decisions. You were elected as an officer to make good decisions on behalf of your life.
And if you
weren't, then the DGGM can come and snatch your charter.
And if you made a bad decision, learn from it, move on.
Exactly. I wish there were examples of why this is proposed. Like, for example, what if a lodge somewhere signed a 99-year lease on their lodge room to a group that, maybe we don't want leasing our property.
I will say that I believe my gut is telling me that this may be tied to something that's currently happening in San Antonio.
Well, you can see who. We can't elaborate.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Well, but I understand. So hypothetically, if you lease out a piece of property that you own, and now you want to sell that property, there are some hoops you have to jump through to get rid of that lease, so you can be free to then sell said property because you were in a lease situation. I understand that there are all sorts of good and sundry reasons why that lodges should be circumspect about leasing any part of their real estate or any property, that they need to make smart decisions. And having said that, having the Grand Master's approval does not change the problem that would probably have happened if they sent this request for a lease up to the Grand Master. Chances are the Grand Master is not going to be the one who is going to be the expert on real estate issues. He is going to have to defer to some other civil law, but the Civil Law Committee, it looks like, is the one that this was referred to. And let's be honest. This is one of those situations where the Grand Lodge moves at a glacial pace.
Well, and
they are not capable of moving through this in a fast enough time frame for lodges to get the answer necessary in a reasonable amount of time.
And I will be honest,
this has happened.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I have personal experience with the Grand Lodge trying to sell a property. So a lodge that I was a member of, trying to sell a property. The process took way too long because we had to get permission from the Grand Lodge. We had to send all of the files down.
And mind you, there were no leases involved in this.
No, this was just sale of property.
Just basic sale.
This was the sale of property.
So the point here is Grand Lodge already moves at a glacial pace, which is one of my big problems with having any new standing committees anyway, because I think the standing committees are probably either overworked or underperforming, and I'm not sure which. And I could be talked into either one of those. But either way, it's not a good idea to add another level of bureaucratic garbage to this.
Yeah.
I think this is a bad idea. Just so bad. So bad. And I cannot be angry enough that this is even proposed. I'm sorry. To whomever is proposing this, I have an infinite amount of respect for you. I'm sure you have the best interests of lodges at heart for this, but this is a terrible idea.
I want to see examples in the reasoning.
Yeah, I'm going to need, because the whereases are ludicrous to me. So let's move on to number 23. We're almost done here, gentlemen.
I'll go ahead and put number 23 and number 24 together since they're basically the same thing. Article 23 seeks to add to Article 2, number 23 Resolution 23 seeks to add to Article 225 that we allow the Knights of Pythias lodges to as an approved organization that can use Masonic Lodge rooms in Texas. And then number 24 seeks to include the Grand United Order of Oddfellows, which got some clarification, is the other portion of the
They follow
Oddfellows.
They follow a trajectory of the Prince Hall lodges.
Right. So
in the US.
Prince Hall, and so Prince Hall has kind of like apparently like an Oddfellows version for our brothers of color, and they would be included as an organization that's approved to use the lodge rooms. Personally, myself, looking at both of these, I have no problem. If your lodge wants to rent to the Knights of Pythias your lodge room, go for it. If it means money in your pocket, great.
Well, even if it doesn't, if you have members who are maybe members of the Knights of Pythias or the Grand United Order of the Oddfellows, and you just want to do it for free, God bless and go forward.
Just don't do it for 99 years.
Yeah, just don't do things in perpetuity. That's your problem. And then the other side of that is, and I think we've talked about this at other times, I think the conundrum about this is going to be the last one.
Oh, you mean the Grand United Order of Oddfellows?
I think that there's I foresee this being a contentious resolution.
But again,
for the same reason that Prince Hall
recognition. Yeah, but what we're getting at is like, why do we, as the members of the Grand West, if you are part of a lodge that wants to allow this organization to use your lodge building, you're not asking to use Fort Worth Lodge number 148. You're asking to use your own building.
I don't care.
Go for it.
Go for it. If
like
I'm probably the person who's much more libertarian on this, and I don't understand why we need an enumerated list of organizations that can use our real estate.
It would look really bad if a clandestine lodge was using our lodge room.
Well, would it look bad? Okay, fine. But if they are renting it from us, like
if they're taking pictures in our lodge room, they're doing ritual in our lodge room, and they're clandestine.
I mean, I can understand the look behind it, mm-hmm. and I get that, and perhaps we make sure that we don't do clandestine organizations that are Masonic oriented.
There's already language in our stuff to deal with anything that's clandestine.
Again, this is one of those things where I see a problem that somebody is trying to solve, and not solving the problem.
I like the big government aspect of this one because I didn't know what the Grand United Order of the Oddfellows was until I saw this resolution. I didn't realize the history of it,
and that's great.
It makes me support the resolution completely.
Well, I am on the same page as it relates to that. But the fact that we need a resolution that allows lodges to make that decision,
right? But now,
why can't we just trust that our elected officers in lodges are going to make the best decisions?
But what if
if they don't make the best decision, we have other mechanisms besides a resolution authorizing a list of people to use our lodges. Right. That's what deputy grandmasters are for. That's what grandmasters are for.
But I'm going to start
oversight is for.
I'm going to start the Grand United Evie Order of the Oddfellows and try to rent your lodge room.
And if they're willing, if I'm willing to pay as the United Order Evie Order of the Oddfellows, why does it matter? That's ultimately my point. If as long as this organization isn't like the Ku Klux Klan or some other really, really heinous organization,
which at one time they did lease.
And that's
I'm not gonna say the least lodge rooms because I don't know the history,
but I'm saying though that if there's not a really compelling reason, and it would, I think it would be much more judicious to make a list of organizations that can't use our lodge rooms.
What was that phrase you used earlier, Cody?
What?
Guard the West
Gate? Guard well the West Gate.
Guard well the West Gate.
And this is one of the, I mean, yes, does it apply? To some degree, yes. But again, having to enumerate every organization that can, I just think it would be much more efficient.
We're going to be spinning our wheels for years and years and years if we're constantly thinking about, I got to plug that hole, and I got to plug that hole, and I got to plug that hole, and I got to plug that hole. Yeah. Instead of taking care of the holes, take care of the whole structure. Like, fix that.
Well,
That's
I'm
what
not
we're
going to settle
really getting to.
until the tall trees of Lebanon can use our rooms.
Right,
'cause
and
I want to wear
that's
their
the other
hats.
thing. Like why was the tall trees of Lebanon not voted on
Because their
last year?
hats were too cool.
You see, it's ridiculous things like that perfectly decent organizations that we would have no problem with.
Knights of Columbus.
Right, we would have no problems. Well, the Knights of Columbus would probably have a problem with us.
They would,
But
that's why I said it.
but the issue is if they wanted to come use our lodge room for something, I would have no problem with that.
Right.
I mean,
And that's something that the local lodge needs to decide for
that's
itself.
that's the thing.
Not the Grand Lodge of
The
Texas.
Grand Lodge doesn't need to be deciding this.
No.
Well, here's another problem.
But
though.
again-
what if it's an order that uses alcohol?
We already have that. They're called the Shrine.
They don't use our lodge rooms.
Yeah, but at this,
We
but
can't have alcohol in our lodge rooms. Period.
we can put
But
it
that's-
into the lease.
But you can put that into the agreements that
Yeah.
you strike with these organizations. That's the thing, is that every one of these problems can be handled at a local lodge level with smart people who know better. That if the rules say that alcohol can't be in the lodge room, then alcohol can't be in the lodge room.
I think ultimately what we're talking about, Evie, is that this thing right here does not need to be impregnated with more and more and more rules.
And there's
that
lots of
could
good
be
organizations
solved,
out
that
there.
could be solved by guys at the lodge getting together and actively talking with each other and saying, hey, I think this might be a problem. We need to discuss this and come up with a solution.
Exactly.
And the solution is not to write a Grand Lodge resolution for us to vote on as the Grand West.
And think about how many decent, and this is, we're in the weeds of the philosophy of this. Obviously, I don't have a problem with these resolutions. And if we want these organizations to use these lodge rooms, these resolutions are going to have to pass. The idea that we have to pass them, though, there are plenty of good organizations out there that, because we're tying ourselves in intellectual pretzels about this, are not going to be able to approach lodges or to be able to be approved by lodges, because every time some organization wants to use our lodge rooms, they suddenly have to get approval from the Grand Lodge. Why can't we just trust that our elected officials will make the best, or defer or kick it down to, like, with DDGM approval or something? I mean, there are so many better ways to handle this than having every year at annual communication we have to kick around these resolutions. Every year this happens.
Yeah.
Every year. It's redundant, and I'm tired of it.
Well, in fear of electioneering, we're not going to go over candidates, are we?
No.
I like that support.
If you want to know who's making themselves available, then
There are
there are
great
ways for you to
candidates.
figure that out. And
I'm going to do the opposite of electioneering. All of these men who are making themselves available are eminently qualified and deserve your attention and your diligence. Listen to them, read over their qualifications, and make good decisions based on who you think would be the best fit for leading this organization moving forward. And if I can just throw in there, ask them if they would be in favor of making resolutions that are smart and don't have to approve an organization piecemeal every time we want to approve organizations.
You know what? I just realized none of them sponsored resolutions.
That is interesting. And perhaps that might be considered electioneering.
hey, you never know.
I don't know.
Not in February, maybe.
Yeah. So, well, gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the resolutions. 24 resolutions plus one holdover. We covered 25. I know we probably went a little longer than we normally do.
Hour 43-ish.
Yeah, almost 2 hours. So
Okay.
that's not bad.
Hey, some of you guys are probably going to listen to this on your way down to Grand Lodge Communication. And hey, that sounds great. All in all, we've talked about all these things, but the main thing that we need to kind of discuss is the fact that if you have a vote at Grand Lodge, you should be there so that you can help steer the ship. And we all look forward to going to Grand Lodge because it's nice to see our brothers that we don't get to see all the time from around the state and get a chance to hang out with each other.
Yeah, to fellowship and to 148 is going to have a house. It's not our usual house.
Not our usual
We'll
one.
figure out why at some point.
Bigger house.
It's
with
a bigger
multiple
house.
houses.
There's
It has
actually several
sub-houses.
houses. We're going to have our usual festivities that we do every year. We're going to have a golf cart that is going to be shuttling us back and forth from the Grand Lodge building. So if anybody would like to join us, of course, they are welcome to come hang out with us. We are all about the fellowship and the brotherhood. And so with that, gentlemen, I think that this brings our episode of the resolutions to a very nice close. This has been a lot of fun. I enjoy this episode probably the most every year when we do it. So, if with no other further ado,
Oh, wait.
No, what?
We didn't talk about Dear Leader.
oh yeah, I'm interested because we haven't had any of our YouTube videos drop yet, have we?
We have not.
No.
The ones like this.
Well,
So,
this will actually probably be the first one since
yeah, we're gonna be dropping
we're
this.
going to
probably ahead of our last
pre-apologize
one.
about griping about resolutions in the next one,
Yeah,
which was
'cause
already
we-
recorded because we didn't have them yet.
Yeah, we didn't have them yet, so we kind of were taking to task some people.
Yeah, we're getting a little weird, like timelines with like Marvel.
Yeah,
did.
we're in the Marvel multiverse now.
Hey, listen, it's
It's the Masonic universe of
timey-wimey.
madness.
It's timey-wimey.
Timey-wimey.
Although the studio is gonna, like, if we release this and then we release the other video, people are gonna be like, what crap did they add to the studio?
They're tearing it down.
They're tearing it down and not improving it. Wow, what a step back.
They really need our money.
Right.
Oh, don't forget your BM Brew.
Yes.
Oh,
and,
yeah, we
and
need to do that.
Yes, we definitely want to thank our official sponsor, B and Brew, our brother who is behind the camera today. Owns a great meadery here in Fort Worth and sells
Coffee.
mead, coffee, great products.
Some Viking horns that are pretty cool.
The Viking horns are amazing.
The merch is as good as the mead.
Yeah, I have to say that they have the graphics design team at B&M Brew is pretty stinking amazing, and perhaps they should do the T-shirt for the
yes,
we're losing Masonic history.
We're losing Masonic history.
That would be great.
Nice.
Sponsored by B&M Brew. I love that.
Oh,
So then we'll put on the back, if you're in needery of meadery. Yeah.
We'll just go in the discount code's FW148.
FW148 for a discount code at bmbrew.com. They would love to have your business. The holidays are upon you. If you don't have your order placed, you might not get it before the holiday. I suspect that
New Year's is a good holiday.
New
for
Year's is a
mead.
good holiday for mead, though. I will tell you, the light, refreshing flavor of mead will definitely bring a little sparkle.
It doesn't
into
have
your
to be
life.
light and refreshing. It can be big and bold.
It can be big, bold, light, and refreshing. It can be whatever
can
you
be
want it to
carbonated.
be. It can identify as whatever you want it to be.
It could be barrel aged.
It could be
and
barrel
I
aged.
can guarantee you, if you have lots of mead, your Christmas will definitely be holly jolly, and your night will definitely be silent.
It will be. Let me tell you. So, yeah, check out our brother for B&M Brew. Get that discount code and support a brother here doing great work here in the state of Texas. So, with that, gentlemen, I think it's time for us to sign off and call it a night. We've got lots of fellowshipping to do.
My batteries are running low.
That's amazing that we got in just under the wire. So, with that, my name is Evie Kirkendall, and I'm signing off.
Brandy Patton sign off.
And before I sign off again, Supreme Leader, if you're listening, thank you so much for your support of our podcast. This is Cody Cox signing off.